This is my first ever knitting podcast. I thought I'd run you through all the things I'm currently working on, one of which is a sort of plan for the imminent future as well. I did one of these recently on TikTok and I just rewatched it in preparation for this video, and I was pleased to see that I'd knocked out 2 whips from that one. So we're now looking at 4 whips, kind of 5, if you count my one that I'm going to cast on quite soon. And also then again, kind of 4, because one of them is a long-term whip, which I realistically don't think I'm going to be completing anytime soon, but we will get into it. My first whip is the Hati blanket by Didi's Laboratory. Very cute. So this is a baby blanket. I'm currently, as you can see, about 1/3 of the way through, I want to say. Possibly even just a quarter, but I don't like to think about that. And it's for a baby who has just been born last week. It is amazing and such excellent news, but it also means I need to get a move on. I don't know. I was coasting. I was like, well, the baby's not born yet, so we've got some time. Now the baby is born, we've officially run out of time. That said, it is August, so this is going to be too warm for them now anyway. So I'm kind of thinking, well, if I can get it there by October, then we'll be in the clear. But I'm also, the other part of me is like, the knitting bug in my mind is like, I'm gonna get out this week, we're gonna get out this week. If we just knuckle down, we can do it this week. And it's like, no, I don't think that we can. Like, I don't think that's possible. I'm like, if I do 30 rows every day, but I don't think that's gonna happen. But it's knitted with Island Beaches yarn by King Cole in the color Pebble. So I don't know if you can see there, it's this kind of like slightly variegated beige sort of color. And it's knitted 2 strands, so there's 2 different types there. So it's kind of got this sort of slightly textured look. It's not just plain beige. The reason why I'm doing it in beige, I don't often knit in beige, is because it's for a friend who's obviously had a baby. But I'd asked my other friend whether I should do her a super colourful number or if I should do her something a bit more in a warm, neutral type of thing. What would be more the vibe of her nursery? And my friend, who was the conduit, said, I think she's wearing a lot of neutrals at the moment. I think neutral will be more her vibe. And she did say, in her defense, she did say, colourful, I'm sure would be great, whatever you want to do, but I think that would fit better with her vibe. So I said, okay, fine. So I went to the ultimate neutral beige. Well, I did think about doing white, but I thought, well, white might get dirty easily. And it's machine washable, by the way, and it's a baby DK, so it's very, very soft and very nice. I thought that beige would be a good, more durable colour than white, and also I thought she didn't want something super, super colourful. I've since seen her nursery and colourful would have been great, but it doesn't really matter anyway, and I think she'll like it anyway. And it's one of those, I think beige kind of, although like it's got a bit of reputation for being boring, it is a bit boring, I also think it goes quite nicely with things. Sometimes that sort of plain neutral style is really popular for a reason. I think you can sort of put it anywhere. You could put it in the car, you could put it in the pram, you could just have it on the sofa for someone to go under, or you could, you know, discard it. I don't know. It's just, once it's a gift, you just have to give it away, don't you? So that's what I'm doing for them, and I'm going to stitch his name into the top as well. So that's another benefit of it being ready for after he's born, that I know his name now to stitch it in. So I did it in cable because I had read, she's my first friend to have a baby, so you know, I didn't really know, I haven't made any baby gifts before, so I looked it up, and people said that lace, even though like initially I was like, oh, I'll do a lace number, but then people said that lace wasn't great for babies because their toes got stuck in it. I don't know how much truth there is in that, because to be honest, a lot of, like, when you see baby blankets, a lot of them are lace, and if it was that big of a thing, if it was that inconvenient, then maybe people would have stopped doing it. But I did take that because I thought I don't want to be a pain, so I decided, but I wanted something, so I did some cables. This style, as you can see, it's quite nice. It's not too challenging, knits up quite quickly. The only thing that I would say is slightly, for me, for the way that I work, is annoying about this cable pattern, is that some of the rows you are still cabling on the purl side. I don't know what it is about that. I think it's because, like, as much as I love the effect of cable, like, cable rows are a pain, and what I'm used to with other cable projects is having the purl row to just relax at the back of it, to just do a few knits and purls and not have to think about cabling. So this one, every purl row has a cable on, and that just kind of drives me crazy, but it's okay. So we deal with it, and I think it looks lovely. You get these lovely cable from it, but occasionally you get a right side row, which is like knit on through, well, you know, knit and purl all the way through, and it's like spa time for me. I think that's always the way. I hate knitting in stockinette because I find it really, really boring, but then if I knit colour work, lace work, cables, whatever, I get really frustrated when I have to do it, even though I love the impact of it afterwards. I think it's just one of those. I'm quite enjoying it. I think it's quite a fun one, quite a relaxing one, I would say, other than the aforementioned cable on the purl side. But we move. My next one probably needs no introduction because I have already posted a whole video about it, and I post about it on my TikTok relentlessly, but I will show you anyway. I love her. So this is a cross stitch pattern. It is called Opening Gambit by Long Dog Samplers. Again, I'll leave the info in the description. If you're interested in what, why, how, what of this, then please do watch my separate video that I did all on that, because I nattered on about that exclusively for about 15 minutes. But yes, you can see how far through I am. I'm all the way from top to the bottom, and it is obviously reversible as well. Done by double knitting, as I say. Please watch my other video about that. So I cast this on September last year, end of September though, and we're now almost a whole year, which is a bit ridiculous. But the truth be told with this is that I've never really, other than stints of about 2 weeks or so, sat down and just exclusively knit it out. And that's because it's very laborious. This one is 340 stitches across, and obviously it's all knitting, double knitting, which is fine. It's a doable thing, but it takes me about an hour to do 2 rows of it. And I think what I kind of would like to do is just to focus on this. And I keep saying that I'm going to do that, but then little things keep coming up, and you know, and I've got more of those sort of things coming up, because I think with this you could spend a week knitting on it and you haven't really got that much to show for it. And listen, maybe that's a separate issue about the toxic productivityness of posting your stuff online. Well, I keep saying I should knuckle down and do it, but it's like, do you need to? Like, isn't life just for living? Like, maybe you don't need to. I know quite a few other people in the Long Dog Sampler community have also cast this on, so I'm intrigued to see how people are getting on with theirs. If you are one such person, please do let me know how you're getting on with yours, because I love to see it. And I don't think so I am just over halfway now with this. So I think if I could really just stop and spend a week or 2 on this, I could probably get to 2/3 of the way through, and I will do that at some point. It's just like when, because the thing is with me is we're getting into autumn now, and not to sound really, really basic, but that's my favorite season. I'm an autumn girl. So I kind of already have like autumn plans. I don't really want to like while away my autumn, miss all the opportunity for like Halloween-y crafts and stuff, knitting this. As much as I love this, it's like not really seasonal. So, but then you have the issue, because then we're going to go into Christmas, and I'm going to be like, well, okay, it's time for Christmas crafts, and then we're going to go in the new year, and I'm going to be like, oh, and I've got an idea for that actually, because I'm going skiing next year, first time in quite a few years, and I want to do a little ski knit. So as you can see, it never happens, because I've always got something to do. So I just keep this on the back burner. I won't make any promises about when I'm going to finish it, because it just will be when it will be. But yeah, I love it. It's really, really thick. So I initially was going to do it as a blanket, but then I've got pets. I've got a dog, Merlin, and 2 cats, Loki and Freya. And I thought if I had it as a blanket, the cats are going to be at it, and Merlin's going to probably just carry it around the house, and in doing so could cause some damage to it. But then yesterday when I was sat on the sofa and I was knitting it, Merlin jumped up on the sofa next to me and just snuggled into the blanket, and he just slept there for like hours, and I was like, oh, maybe I can't deprive them of the blanket. I mean, probably Merlin could have it. The cats will definitely be it. And I think anyone who knits and has cats, which I feel like is most people, I feel like knitting and cats go really, really well together, will know the devastation of a cat just doing one single tick and suddenly like the stitch is out and you're like, no. I've had that many, many, many a time. They've actually never destroyed a knit though. I've had to like readjust it and just pull it out and do all that sort of stuff. But I'm not emotionally ready to allow them to do that to this one yet. But we shall see, we shall see. So yeah, this one, don't hold your breath, won't be ready anytime soon probably, but you know, still. And I've also got this temptation, this like horrible worm in the back of my mind, which is like cast on another one, do another Long Dog Sampler. Like, oh, because I kind of want, this one's obviously black and white and it's double knitted, and I kind of want to do one single-sided and in colour. So, but anyway, I can't, just got to focus. Oh, and I did a whole tutorial on double knitting as well. So if you're interested in how I've done this, more specifically, you've never double knitted and you want to know how I double knit, then I've got a whole video on that as well. So please do watch those if you're interested. My third whip is a self-drafted lace dress pattern. If you look at the lace pattern, you might recognize it if you're familiar with the Japanese lace knitting stitch Bible by Hitomi Shida. It is number 67 of the stitches. The only thing that you might notice is slightly different is that for some reason, I really struggle to keep a track of my rows on this one, even though I write down every row that I do. I've got like a notes app in my phone. And this isn't something that I struggle with overall. So obviously I do a lot of collar work, I do a lot of cables, do a lot of this. And I know we've all we all miss a row on a cable or whatever. I think it's slightly more challenging than colour work because colour work is more obvious. But this lace knitting is kicking my ass. I have no idea how I'm making so many mistakes. Every single one is a different length because I'm somehow skipping out ones, or I think I might like convince myself that I've skipped a row when I haven't, so I just move to the next part, or I've added an extra row somewhere, and I just, it's a disgrace, to be honest. It's the biggest piece of lace knitting I've done so far, so I'm just sort of putting it down to that, and I'm like, okay, and this is also going to be the back piece, so I'm like, it's okay, nobody will see, but yeah, it's really, really frustrating. So if you lace knit, let me know if you have similar issues, or if you have a way of going about it. I've been thinking about getting a little stitch thing, a clicky thing, although I don't really see how that would be any different than me writing it down on my phone as I already do, but there must be something to it. And I think a lot of it is the mental game I play with myself. I just don't even trust my own note keeping. So I'll like look at my notes and I'll say for example, I say I've done 6 rows and I'm like, no, that looks like 8 to me. And then I move on as if it's 8. That must be what I'm doing because I don't know. And then the next row, I do an extra row because I'm like, no, that doesn't look long enough. You need it to be longer. And it's like, no, no. So I'm just a bit of a nightmare with it. I mean, it still looks nice. I kind of want to say that it looks intentional, but yeah, I love it. So the inspo was a dress that Olivia Rodrigo wore to Tiny Desk back in December. It is a dress by Celine. It's actually a crochet dress, but obviously I can't crochet and I wasn't going to learn to crochet for that. So I kind of thought, okay, I'm going to give it well. Well, I first thought, oh, I bet I can sew it, which again is completely delusional because I'm not very good with a sewing machine, but I thought I'll get to grips with it and I'll make a dress very similar to this. But then I was like, well, why don't you try knitting it? So yeah, I'm knitting it in cotton. So it's Aran weight cotton, which I've never used before, but I actually really, really love it. So I've not been someone who's massively knitting cotton before, mainly because I did a rainbow jumper in cotton, not really appreciating what it meant that it was cotton. And it had obviously no stretch. It was quite hot. And I kind of was like, oh, okay, well, me and cotton don't really match. But actually, it was just maybe not the right choice for what that was. About lace specifically, I really have begun to enjoy lace. So I first ever knitted lace in December from the Japanese knitting stitch Bible. I knitted a collar and I really liked the intricacy of it. And I think it was more like I was not intimidated by lace, but I definitely looked at the charts and I was a bit like, oh gosh, this is a bit harsh. But it wasn't really, because all it is that obviously the stitches it's referring to are not going to be common stitches necessarily, or the stitch pattern. So they're going to have weird symbols. But once you know what each symbol means, it's very easy to read and you can just sort of go through it normally. So really, really like lace knitting. What I'm just realising is my current whips are showing a really good breadth of all the things I do. So we've got lace, we've got a double knitted colour work, we've got a cable. So yeah, it's quite exciting. It's just a very cute little dress. So I kind of thought, oh, it'd be great. I can wear it to all sorts of things. If I'm completely honest, so this is, as I said, a completely self-drafted pattern. So I'm just making it up as I go along, which is like, on the one hand, yay, how exciting. On the other hand, am I doing it right? Is it going to be really small? It's kind of hard to tell. I think right now it's looking like it's about right. Like for me, it's looking like it's about the same width as I would expect my clothing to be, but I mean, I don't know. And my worry is, as often happens with knits, it's not really a worry because it's just a sad reality of knitting, especially knits that are not as straightforward as like a jumper, which you kind of have an inkling of how you think that they might fit. Is it going to be one of those things that I'm going to knit, spend, months and whatever on, and then I'm going to try it on and be like, no, I don't really like it. Probably because that actually happens most of the time. To be honest, that happens a lot, especially with technical knits, but such is life. To be fair and to be real and to be honest, I don't make these things to wear. I think I do, but I think on some level I know I just make it for the fun. If I can wear it, then great. And if I can't, then, you know, join the club. Put it in the box in the attic with all my other knits that I don't wear. Anyway, I think that's kind of fun. I might have to wear a slip under it or something, because I mean, you can't really see the pattern from here, but you can see that it's kind of see-through, so you could probably see my underwear through it if I wear it. Oh my God. But yeah, I think it's quite a fun one. Quite a fun little challenge for myself. That's that one, that's Millais. Honourable mention for this one. Honourable? Dishonourable mention. No. This one is a funny one. This is the Pasadena Sweater Lite by karas.knit.eng. Again, link in bio. So I cast this on, I want to say, oh God, middle of last year, right? I just saw it. I don't usually knit sort of chunky patterns, but I thought, oh, that'll be nice. So I'll do it. And I knitted it up with this lovely yarn. It's called Millais by Louisa Harding, which my cousin gave me. So she gave me a lot of her yarn that she wasn't using, which was amazing because it was like gorgeous yarn. But this one, as gorgeous as it is, it's like this mossy green. It's got a bit of turquoise to it. I mean, it's like stunning, but it's discontinued. And I think it was discontinued quite a few years ago. So knitted through most of it, ran out, managed to very quickly find some on eBay. I think it was already listed, bought it. It was shipped from America, but still bought it. Great, 2 more balls of yarn, ran out again. So we're all the way through. So we've done a sleeve, the length, and we've just got half a sleeve here, maybe 2/3 of a sleeve or something here. And that was about this time last year, by the time I ran out of that second lot of yarn. Crickets. There is no more, okay? So I've seen other colours come up online and which is no help to me whatsoever. I tried to colour match this unsuccessfully, which isn't helped by the fact that I think there's so much more yarns online than there is in shops. So in shops, at least near me, there really isn't very much like selection. In order for me to bring this in and colour match it, you have to have like a warehouse full of yarn, of which I don't have near me. And when I've tried to order them online, they look like they're this similar sort of colour, but they're just not. So I've had like teal ones that are too green, too blue, whatever. And I'm even willing, obviously, to go for a thinner yarn and hold it double or whatever. It doesn't need to be like exactly chunky and exactly matching the gauge of it. I'll just fudge it, you know what I mean? But alas, we're not having it. So listen, I've had a lot of feedback on it. People say, like, you're never going to find it. No, people have never actually said that to me. But people have said, you should do this and that, you should use a different colour, you should frog it back in. And I just want to say up front, I'm not going to do any of that because I'm waiting for that yarn. And I believe it will make its way to me. At some point, it will make its way to me. I don't know. Somebody had suggested I look on Ravelry and see all the people who have stashed it and message them all, which I actually will do. I haven't done it yet, but I will do it. But if you know of any, then please do let me know. And if you've got any in your stash, please do let me know. Or even if you had an item that you were like, I could frog this, then I will buy that from you and I will frog it. To finish this jumper. But yeah, so that's where we're at with that one. We'll see. As I say, it's been a year. Maybe my resolve will weaken over the years and I'll just, you know, finish it up with any old thing. But until then, I would really like to be a bit of a purist with it. I will say though, I was thinking of it as being slightly looser than it is, and this is quite tight. Not uncomfortably tight. It's like quite nice. It's because, you know, obviously it's got that rib, got the cables, and it's got a thick pearl bit between. That rib is quite fitting. That's the word. Yes, it's quite a fitting jumper, which I don't know, you know, I'm going through all of this. I'm like, are you really going to wear it? But like, I don't know. I think it'd be quite nice. It's a little cropped. I think it'd be quite nice, like with a skirt and that sort of vibe. But you know, it'll happen when it happens. So I just put my trust and faith, and when it wants to happen, it will happen. So finally, this is a long-term one that I've been thinking about for a long time and I haven't done anything with it yet. So it's kind of a bit of a cheat to call it a whip. but it will be a whip soon. I'm quite fortunate that I get to visit Scotland a lot. So I live in the north of England, not too far a drive from Scotland, and my family sail and we have a boat in Scotland. So we go there quite regularly to go and, you know, sail and have potter around and just enjoy life in the Western Isles of Scotland. It's really inspired me over the past few years to start thinking more about traditional knitting and Scottish knitting. Now, as I said a million times before, I'm really keen on colour work, and I've done what I have referred to as Fair Isle before, but in fact, I'm just incorrectly referring to stranded colourwork knitting as Fair Isle. Somebody once commented on one of my videos where I said this, I referred to stranded colourwork as Fair Isle, and they said it was cultural appropriation for me to do so. And I was like, it's incorrect. It's incorrect. It's not cultural appropriation though, but it has made me start thinking about it, about doing a proper Fair Isle one. So I bought this recently, which is Alice Starmore's book of Fair Isle knitting. Alice Starmore is an incredible knitwear designer, pattern designer, photographer. She's amazing. She does all sorts of traditional knits, and she's considered an authority on Fair Isle knitting. So she's one of the ones to go for. She does all sorts of brilliant structural knits, and that's maybe something for another day because, you know, she's got a whole repertoire of work of different sort of types, but I'm focusing on her Fair Isle work. So, bought this. My intention is to do a Fair Isle knitting cardigan. You know, this is a book with a ton of gorgeous charts in it, and that was always my plan. So I've done that before with what I at the time referred to as Fair Isle, but in fact I think was Norwegian Selba. I believe that's how you pronounce it. You tell me if I'm wrong. Knitting, which is that sort of two-colour gorgeous one where you get like the stars and bits like that. I thought I'd have a go at traditional Fair Isle knitting. So as I say, I'm going to do a cardigan. I'm going to use some of the designs from here. This is all my intention. We'll see how it works. And bonus for this book, it does an amazing section on making up your own Fair Isle patterns and how to go about that and stuff like that. So I've obviously done, many times I've done my own designs. I mean, this is my own design as well. But to actually have this is how they used to do it and this is how you properly do it is such a good way to do it. And I think it's almost like what I'm finding now as I get more into knitting. Like when I first started, I was super anti doing anything that made me sit down and do a lot of work. I was like, I just want to get on with it. I just want to do it. But now I've got a little bit more experience. I really appreciate the sort of nuance and the actual learning things. So a book like this, when I first started knitting, I would have been like, get lost. Like, I don't care. I don't need to know all that. But now I've got that base knowledge built. I'm really like sort of thirsty for more knowledge about it. So I'm like, I will sit down, and already have sat down and read it. But it's like, I'm going to like actually do it by the book and figure it out. And I'm really interested how to make it better, and I'm much more invested in doing things sort of neater and the right way and sort of learning. I feel like I'm like a student of knitting rather than just like doing it. I actually want to like sit and learn about it. So as I said, this is the book, and I've developed over the years a big collection of sort of warm toned fingering weight yarns. This is just some examples of them. So obviously they're like kind of all different colors. I've even got a nice green there, but they're all very lovely warm toned, which I love. I think, you know, I know traditionally Fair Isle knitting is knitted with 2-ply jumper weight Shetland yarn, and that's like the proper way to do it. And no doubt if I was to do something really, really traditional, then that's what I would do. But it's just a hard balance, I think, because I have so much yarn, but every time I cast on a new project or I'm planning a new project, it's never quite the right yarn. And then I end up buying more yarn just for that specific project. And I just end up with loads of yarn that I'm like, oh, it's not quite right, it's not quite right. So for me, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, my exploration into Fair Isle, let's call it cardigan, with my finger weight yarn, which is slightly thicker than it should be. It's not quite the right, you know, obviously it doesn't really matter that it's not the right gauge because I'll just adjust the stitch count for that as well. But I don't know, I think this is a thing that even like online, I'm kind of preempting someone being like, but that's the wrong type of yarn. Well, that's how are you going to do traditional Fair Isle if you're not using traditional Fair Isle yarn? And I'm sure maybe nobody would say that. I'm actually not sure at all that nobody would say that. I'm sure somebody would say that. But I just think it's really important to like also think about using up other yarn. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm using that yarn. That's primarily alpaca yarn as well. So I don't know. I guess it's not what it should be, but I don't care. It's really not that hard. It's not really not that different from it. But I think that's probably a separate issue about wastefulness and just trying to be, I'm trying to be more conscious about the amount of yarn that I have. I have a huge amount of yarn. I feel like this is a completely different video to talk about that, but I just feel like I need to be getting through that yarn that I've got rather than continuously thinking it's not good enough, I've got to buy more yarn, and then spending money and also just building this collection of, I mean, it drives me crazy. I used to think, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have a wall full of yarn? Well, now I've got a wall full of yarn and it drives me insane. And I feel like great shame for having it. And yeah, I think I just need to do some sort of stash busting things, especially with some of the yarn that I collected in my early days where I just felt like I needed loads of yarn, and now I just have lots of not very nice, very colourful, but not the best yarn that I'm just like, well, there is no project that I would pick this yarn for, so what am I gonna do? So anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Yeah, so I think I've whittled on long enough about my current whips. I hope that this was interesting to you, and I wanna do this on like a semi-regular basis, just sort of keep you up to date on what I'm doing and what's going on. I can't promise that other projects won't sneak in. In fact, even as I'm saying this, I've thought of some other ones which I kind of had thought to do in the meantime. But anyway, that's the joy of these things. We see how they go. But one thing that I really want to not do is buy any more yarn. So if you see me knitting projects with yarns and you want to say, I don't think that's the right yarn, save it. Okay, save it. Because I don't want to know. I don't need to know. I know. I think the same as you. I think the same as you, but listen, I'm just thinking about the planet here, okay? And I'm thinking about my money as well. So let's just be kind. Let's not get too caught up in everything. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, I'd love it if you could like, subscribe. And if you are interested to know anything more about my knits, then please do let me know in the comments. And I hope to see you soon.